of you have an amaryllis at home? No? Anybody? Oh, okay. Mel back there has an amaryllis at home because Mel's a good gardener. No, you're not a good gardener? Okay. I think they're beautiful flowers, and they're often called Christmas flowers, and a lot of people have them at Christmas because they bloom at Christmas time, which is unusual for those of us in more northern climes because we think of flowers blooming in the spring, but they're full of hope, right? Because we think of seeds in the earth at this time in preparation. But here's a bulb that blooms at this time of year, and it reminds us that there is so much hope in all of these seeds. And this is a time of year for preparation. Gesundheit. This is a time of year for preparation. And for a congregation that's been almost 2.5 years in interim ministry, can seem like, well, will the preparation ever end? Like, when will we get where we're going? Okay. The answer is never really. It's always the journey. But at this time of year, we pay special attention to the preparation. And on this Sunday in particular, if we're going to talk about Advent, we talk about hope. And since you're getting ready for the meat of the ministerial search and for calling a new minister, and since we've been talking about what your vision might be as you move forward, I thought this would be a good time to talk about some of the things that we started to talk about. Preparation for your new minister, for what you want to be, and growth, which is some of what you've been talking to me about, and how that all fits in together, hope and preparation and moving forward. Now, you have been talking to me a lot about growth, but when you mention growth to me, I think you keep thinking about growth in numbers. Everybody talks to me about we need to grow, we need to grow, we need to grow. And I hear that from you in terms of we need to have more people here. But is growing in numbers the only kind of growth there is? Is it? I see the heads shaking no. Is it the only kind of growth there is? No, it is not. In fact, I've been bragging on you to my colleagues all the time about how this is such a mature congregation. And that's one type of growth right there, maturational growth. So I want to talk to you about the different types of congregational growth. And this is from the Way Churches Grow by Lauren B. Mead, who was one of the founders of the Alban Institute. And this is adapted by Renee Rahutsky, one of the ministers who works for the Central East region of the Unitarian Universalist Association. So I'm about to read her adaptation from Lauren Mead. But there's organic growth, and that's really what I want to focus on today. Organic growth is the task of building the community, fashioning the organizational structures, developing the practices and processes that result in a dependable, stable network of human relationships in which we can grow and from which we can make a difference. It is also the physical plant and the staff needed for the size of the congregation. You've committed all that to memory now, right? Okay. Yeah, I'll come back to that, because that's what we're going to focus on today. And there's maturational growth, the ability of a congregation to challenge, support, and encourage each one of its members to grow in the maturity of their faith. You're really good at that. to deepen their spiritual roots, and to broaden their religious imagination. And this is what I brag about all of you. It is also the ability of the congregation as an institution to go deeper into the faith while maintaining the welcoming path for newcomers. And there's incarnational growth. What are the outputs of the congregation's ministry? What is it that the congregation seeks to export from its life back into the life of the world, the social environment in which it exists? What are the good works that we are doing that will make the world a better place? Did you do your homework from last week? I know some of you did because you reported back to me. Now you need to report back to each other. And then there's numerical growth. Adding new members while maintaining the number of members already within the congregation, keeping track of losses and understanding why they happen, changing the things that need to be changed in order to retain healthy members. Never compromising ethics or principles, understanding that some losses are healthy or inevitable. But today we're going to talk about organic growth, the task of building the community, fashioning the organizational structures, developing the practices and processes that result in a dependable, stable network of human relationships in which we can grow and from which we can make a difference. It is also the physical plant and the staff needed for the size of the congregation. Now that's a mouthful. Well, what does that mean? That's kind of the process of what you're doing now. You're searching for a minister. This congregation has decided that you want a full-time minister. You have had full-time ministry. You're committed to full-time ministry. I have to say, I have never seen a congregation this size before with a full-time minister. That's quite a commitment. That's your commitment? Okay. What does that mean for you? Well, it means you have to sacrifice other things. It means we don't have an administrative assistant of any type. You have orders of service because I personally make them and print them out for you, right? I don't thank you for the volunteers who fold them, but I come in early, your minister prints them out for you. It means that we don't have a professional director of religious education. We have volunteers. Thank you, volunteers, who put this all together. It means that we don't have a cleaning company who comes in. If the floors are clean and the bathrooms are clean and there's toilet paper in the bathroom, who likes having toilet paper in the bathroom? Right. It's because you sign up to do that, right? Because in order to have a full-time minister and in order to have a dedicated space, because you used to meet in a school, right? You used to meet in a school, but in order to have a dedicated space, that's where you've chosen to put your resources. Now, if you want to grow in numbers, that probably makes sense, but it helps to understand why you want to grow in numbers. What is the purpose of growing in numbers? What's the message you have for the world? And do you really want to grow in numbers? I'm not here to tell you one way or another, because it's not my vision that's important, it's your vision. I'm here to help you with the vision that you have. But I'll tell you what doesn't work for growing in numbers. I know that's not our topic today, but I'll tell you what doesn't grow. What doesn't grow a church is we need to grow because we don't have enough money to pay our bills right now. Because nothing makes people feel invited into a church more than, hey, come on in because we need your money, right? That really is welcoming. So our task together is to figure out if we really do want to be bigger and what is needed for that. And if we do want to be bigger, what's the purpose of that? What's the message we have for the world? And what do we need to do that? Well, maybe you do need a full-time minister. Raw for you, and you're on that path. What do you need to do to prepare the way for that full-time minister who's going to be coming? Well, you're already, as I said, a very mature congregation. I brag on you all the time. You're a spiritually very mature congregation. You're as theologically diverse as any congregation I have served already. You know that Unitarian Universalists, we're all over the theological map, right? But you don't spend time squabbling with each other about how my theology is better than your theology or your theology is wrong. You understand that we translate from each other, and you do that. And not only do you do that part, but you really take in from all the sources of faith. You learn from each other, and you help use that to grow your own theology. And you get down to the business of worship in worship, and you get down to the other business of the church in other areas of church life. So that part is running well. But how do you communicate that? How do you prepare that? How do you communicate that? How do we get ready with the organic growth for the people who are going to be coming in, who are going to be potentially looking at this congregation as a new minister? Well, one way is to attend the Beyond Categorical Thinking workshop that's coming up on December 16th. Your search committee is working hard at getting ready, and this is a workshop that will help you do some out-of-the-box thinking. It's exactly what it says on the tin. It's beyond categorical thinking. It's to help you prepare for the minister you didn't think you might be interested in. Because, sometimes we get in our head that, I know exactly what we need. We need that 35-year-old, straight, white, single, married man with 25 years experience who will always be in the church and out in the community doing work and visiting everybody in the hospital, right? So it helps us get out of those boxes. And the ministers will also know that you've done it and how many people have attended it. And they're going to look and see, oh, that's a church that's committed to really having a minister. That's a church that's done its organic growth work. That's a church that really wants me here. So on December 16th, when Reverend Donna Dolan is here to preach the service and then do the Beyond Categorical Thinking workshop, I know that everybody's going to be attending that, right? Of course you will. And it will help you to see things in some new ways. What are some of the other things that we can do in terms of organic growth? Well, from time to time, it's good to reassess a situation. How many of you have ever been in an organization that's changed over time, but you keep doing the same thing because we've always done it this way? We've always done it this way. Many of us have experienced some form of that, right? But we've always done it this way. So many of you know that I have 1,000 children. Okay, I have 9 children. When they were little, I had a minivan. I needed a minivan. It made sense. I mean, we had car seats, and we were foster parents too. On any given day, I truly did not know how many children I was going to have in my house. And if anybody's ever had the minivan, we had the minivan with the scary third row, because you don't go back there often enough, but it's like mystery goop, right? But we had this minivan, and we were shuttling kids around in it, and then, my kids were getting older and driving themselves and moving out of the house. And one day, as I was driving back and forth to seminary, a light bulb went on. I realized I was spending $65 a week in gasoline. $65 a week in gas, that's a car payment. And I was usually the only one in the car. I could fit 6 other people in this car, and I was the only one in it. And I went to my husband and I said, I think it's time that we sell the minivan. This was a scary proposition. This was now our probably 3rd or 4th minivan. We'd had minivans for a long time. But it was 2011, and it was time for a change. And so we traded in the minivan, and I got the hybrid car that I'm still driving today, that you see parked out in front of the church quite a lot. And I'm not putting $65 worth of gasoline into it every week, even though I'm driving from Virginia to Ellicott City. It took a reassessment of my situation. I had to stop and look at what my current needs were. We need to stop and look at what our needs are. Now, maybe you need the minivan. If we were still active foster parents with lots of kids coming in, if I knew I were going to have lots more kids, maybe it would have been time to get a more efficient minivan. But sometimes it's important to pare down. What are the needs of this congregation? How do you want to grow? So in the next few weeks, I want you to consider, and we'll talk about, what are we preparing for? How do we want to grow? What is our message? What are we really hoping for? Not just in a minister, but in the vision of this congregation. I've asked you to consider what your message is for the world, what kind of social justice work you want to do. What's the church that you want to be? And now I'm going to ask you to consider, in preparation for some of the work that we're going to do continuing on, who do you want to be together? Who do you want to have in here with you? Do you want to grow in numbers? Which ways do you want to grow individually and together? And that will help you in determining the organic growth that we need to do together moving forward. Make sense? Makes sense. Now I know this waiting is hard. Tom Petty said it, the waiting is the hardest part. But eventually, when we wait and we prepare, something happens. It's not always what we expected. Sometimes it's 2 boats and a helicopter. But so often it's something so wonderful. And I have such wonderful hopes for you.